Welcome back. Guys, we had a strong day to finish the week. The Dow popped 860 points, and the NASDAQ has been on its longest winning streak now since 1992. But I wanted to show you this graph here to start the video because we had clearly had a definitive inflection point now. Right at March 30th, we've seen our indexes just started climbing in an upward sharp fashion. The NASDAQ has been clearly leading the way here. You can see almost a vertical growth for the NASDAQ. This is a great sign, and to me, it's a strong signal that the market may be starting to price in the end of this war. We know we have peace negotiations this weekend with Iran. We're seeing fear and anxiety come down. The VIX was at 17 today. Brent crude was down in the low 90s, may have broke through the 90 floor into the high 80s at some point today. Fear and anxiety is rotating out, and capital is rotating back into risk-on assets. We're seeing strong growth with the tech sector, strong growth with semiconductor stocks overall. It's been amazing to see these consecutive days of back-to-back growth. So many signals out there for us to watch as investors. But if you were looking at the memory trade today, we definitely had a divergence. The storage players were flying high, but Micron was in a brutal tug-of-war battle once again. The bears were trying to push this stock down below the 450 level, trying to break it down through the 450 floor. But every time it got close, support stepped in. Whether that's institutional or retail, support was there to yank the stock back up with support, back to the 450, 460 level. And SanDisk, it showed it had a wild V recovery in the afternoon session. It was fueled by some of the biggest whale moves that I've seen in a while. I'm talking about billions of dollars that crossed the tape right at the close and into the after hours, all as a setup for the stock as it heads to Monday's inclusion on the NASDAQ 100. The storage players, as I mentioned, they get back on their same track of breaking records. It was a smooth sailing day for them. They traded again and set a new 52-week high. They have confirmed themselves right now to be the kings of the sector. Seagate and Western Digital are the kings of the memory trade right now, no question about it. So today, we're going to dive in and take a look at the candle pattern charts for these stocks because I dug through them all. And I'm looking for signals for each and every one of you. I'm looking at the after hours moves of what did we saw with SanDisk? What signals can I find to hopefully make us all a better informed, more insightful investor as we head towards Monday's opening bell? But if you haven't done it already, hit like, hit subscribe to the channel, and let's dive in and talk about our first stock, which went through the massive tug of war battle today, which was Micron. So let me pull that up, and we can look at Micron on the screen. There's a few things I want to call out overall. And let me first just make this a little easier for you to read and kind of look at today's. So there you go. So here was the close on Thursday, and here's what happened on Friday. And guys, the first thing I want to point out is clearly you can see it's a gap up right out of the gate, about 10 minutes. And why this is significant is this second candle, we finally broke through the 470 ceiling. We've talked about this 470 level. I told you how it gives me the shakes, but we broke through it for a moment of time in this 5-minute candle. You can see on the top of your screen, 470.95. But what happened? We faced resistance. And it definitely felt like we were going to see a stop loss flush here. Look at the volume underneath. Look at the candle patterns. It just dropped down in the next 25 minutes or so, hitting down towards that 450 floor. But this candle right here that I'm circling, the most important candle for me of the day, because what it showed is the buyers stepped in. They stopped the selling. If this stock didn't have support, that selling would have continued. It would have dropped through the 450 floor. It would have pushed back down to the 435 level of support that we've seen before. But the buyers stepped in and said, that's enough. And they bought the stock back up, pushed it back up over to the 460 range. This window closed at 461. We hung on that pattern again, but then we saw it test again. It pushed down here to the 452 range overall. But once again, the buyers stepped in and they said no more. This kind of made me think about, for you Lord of the Ring fans out there, when Gandalf said, "You shall not pass," and he put his stake down. That's what I felt like with the institutional support right there. It drove the stock up. Look at that strong conviction right there. Moved it all the way back up to this 460 range again, where we started then to just see a little consolidation towards the end overall. But this clearly was a strong day. Clearly you see the institutional floor, the support now for Micron is 450. Every time the bears tried to push it below, buyers stepped in and pushed it back up. And we technically finished here the day with a little volatility squeeze at the end. The highs got lower as we moved through the day, but the floor kind of stayed flat. But we also have the kicker of it is you see this down below with the RSI. It's a little bit of a bullish divergence, meaning while the price was fighting, the selling momentum was actually getting weaker. This was telling me that the buyers just didn't win the tug of war today. They exhausted the sellers. But we also see today that the institutional buyers, the support level overall, has selected 450 as the line in the sand for Micron. They're not letting this stock go any lower overall. So this consolidation floor at 450 to me is an incredibly bullish sign for the stock because it represents a contractual floor. The stock isn't moving sideways because of a lack of interest. It's moving sideways because it's booked to capacity. This creates a coiled spring with Micron. Every day we hold at this 450 level, the RSI gets a chance to cool down, and smart money has more time to push weak hands, paper hands out of the stock as they accumulate. And once a new catalyst hits in this sector or with the stock, like let's say a price hike for 2027 contracts, or maybe even the SanDisk inclusion and the ripple effect we see there, the stock just won't move. It'll likely shatter that 470 resistance level that we've been facing. And the bears are going to be forced to cover themselves and cover their positions in a massive squeeze as Micron marches towards the 500 level. That's just the way I see it. That's the way I look it out. Drop a comment below. Let me know if you see or feel anything different. And let me quickly cover the storage players before we jump into SanDisk. But you can clearly see a much smoother day for both of these companies. A gap up right at the beginning of the day, and pretty much a hold. Both of them had this nice support level right about midday. You'll see overall, this is Western Digital. So Western Digital was up 3% today. It had a growth of over $10 a share. Let me just double check that. Yep, was up 10, almost $11 a share today. Nice smooth growth. Seagate, same phenomenon, up 3% today. $15, almost $16 on the day. But you can see a strong gap up where we pushed here up to 553 overall. So, and then continue to rise. This candle pattern got up to, again, 553. So moving nice. Here's that nice kind of conviction right in the middle of the day. But you can see both stocks also, I want to call it, just had this nice kind of ending. If you look here, this is Seagate. The last 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so of the stock had a nice bullish finish to it overall. And I'll just show you the same pattern. A little less pronounced with Western, but it was there as well. And if you look for both of them, their RSIs are light and just perfectly right in this neutral phase. So you can see where Western was. And again, look at Seagate right down here in the 40s overall. So this is a strong sign for the stock. This shows us that both of these stocks had nice finishes to the end with strong support overall. So the institutions were kind of sopping up these shares as they headed into the weekend. And both of these RSIs are sitting below 50 right now. So they are not overbought at all. They're both actually in a position of being reloaded and ready to go when we open up the market on Monday. The storage players now are just not chips anymore. We've talked about it on this channel. They're literally the landlords of the digital world. Today's 3% growth for both of them proved that the smart money is viewing storage as the most secure, high margin play in possibly the entire AI ecosystem right now overall. But then let's talk about SanDisk. It's the most interesting trade today overall. You're going to see a massive V recovery on your screen. And so you can see where we started, where we finished on Friday. Actually, we started, here's the end of Thursday. So we did jump up. We saw all of our stocks, all these memories had some positive movement in the pre-market, but both SanDisk and Micron kind of battled throughout the day. But you could see here in this, right in the beginning of the market, maybe 15 minutes in or so, we got to about 9:30 with SanDisk. But then it just had this kind of flush, right? We had profit taking for sure. We had people fearing that the stock was going to go down. Once it got up to that 9:30 level, we just had some kind of sell orders that hit. And the stock drove all the way down, probably into you could see here, the 886 level. But then look at that massive support. So this is the accumulation we saw. This is what we've expected to see with the NASDAQ 100 coming up. I mean, this is a massive institutional accumulation getting ready for the NASDAQ 100 inclusion on money. on Monday morning. So the stock recovered back up to like 920. I think it finished today. SanDisk at just about 921 overall, just a little over $1.50 growth. So that's a nice finish overall. Good way to the end. Good volume in the last 10 minutes overall growth for it. And if you look at the RSI, it's not sitting and oversold. It's sitting at about 60 right now. This is the sweet spot. It shows that it has strong upward momentum without being overbought. It still suggests there's room to run before the stock hits its technical ceiling. And I think, to me, with that big V right there overall, this is the forced accumulation that we've talked about. Right? The big index funds have to own this stock by Monday morning. They were clearly decided that the 920 was the price they were willing to pay. And you're going to see that when I get into the after hours and all the after hours moves and all of the purchases that we see for SanDisk in the after hours at the 920 level. So they have essentially painted the floor. The 920 is the floor for this stock with neon paint. Like, this is going to be a huge institutional floor of support for SanDisk at 920. Let's jump over and show you some of those block trades that we saw overall. And this is right here at the close. So this is so much higher volume than we traditionally see with SanDisk. It's all because of the passive, the funds having to buy it. You saw almost $4 billion at the close. Over 4 million shares of SanDisk at 920. So at the closing of 921, we'll call it. So huge. But then I want to call out, you'll see another 250 million here. Again, just literally at the close. Not right. It's not the closing cross, but it's right at the close. And then I want to show you just the other massive moves that we had. If I can get my computer to cooperate, let's see. Okay. So yep, this is the next one. I just look at between 4 and we'll go up 6 seconds later. Like, it's not even, 6 seconds later. Look at the amount of trades that we have with SanDisk. And guys, these aren't glitches. These aren't repetitive trades. These are actually huge block trades, all for about $250 million. Just a massive accumulation for the stock at 920.99 overall. And that continued as far into, we get to about, it started really to tail off just at 4 o'clock and 7 seconds later. We had a few more and beyond that, but that is massive, billions of dollars of trades that hit for SanDisk at that time frame overall. So that is just what we expected to see with the inclusion of the NASDAQ 100, just this massive transfer of active into passive buying, stocks that had to hold this overall. And, what does it mean for us for Monday? What does it mean for us as investors in Monday? It means that the institutions right now have just had this vacuum effect where every available share that was out there has been sucked up by the institutions. There were so many shares that were taken off the market today, right at the close and in the after hours, that it could present some really good volatility, a gap up moment on Monday morning. If we just have a few buyers that are interested, new investors that come in that want to buy, the price can gap up significantly or jump up higher very quickly because there's very little supply in the market right now based on all of the accumulation that we just saw. But it does also create a high pressure environment. While the forced buying is over, Monday will be the first day SanDisk is officially in the NASDAQ 100. I expect the price to swing wildly as the market figures out what is the fair value for this stock without the index funds doing the buying for them. If we stay above the 920 level, that floor, that whale floor that I mentioned, then we're in great shape with this stock. But be ready for a roller coaster out there for all you SanDisk owners. Volatility is going to be as high as the market. It's going to be high as the market adjusts to the new normal for SanDisk. The block trades prove that the big buyers are all in. The institutions are in. They had to buy the stock. They bought at 920.99 cents. They didn't buy those shares to sell them. They have to hold them. They're permanent landlords of the stock now. This does make 920 the most important number on the screen for us as investors for probably the rest of the month. That's what we have to watch for. Will we hold that support? I know some people are going to look at the flat day in Micron and SanDisk and say the momentum is dying for those stocks. I'm telling you, that is wrong. That's a wrong read. That's the wrong signal to have. If this run was over, we would have seen high volume selling that continued to push down and would have broken further levels. We wouldn't have seen the support. But instead, what we did see is we saw selective strength with our storage players. They're flying high. They're the kings of the sector right now. We saw institutional walls being built in the dark pool with that SanDisk at 920, all the massive $1 billion of stock that was purchased. And we saw volatility squeezes with the leader in Micron. Clearly, we are at this position where 450 is the level of support that we're going to battle next week for Micron. I think this is digestion. That's the way I read it today in the market. After massive runs that we've seen, the market needs to catch its breath. The RSI reset we saw today with all of the stocks is actually a really good thing. It means that there is more room to run next week without the stocks being technically exhausted. So here's how I'm going into Monday morning, how I'm going to play these stocks. For SanDisk, I'm going to be keeping my eye on that 920 level that I mentioned. It's the official inclusion on Monday in the NASDAQ 100. Can we hold 920 when we open? That'll show me that that whale support is real. And if those forced buying orders keep hitting the tape, if we see more positions moving in, more buying positions overall, we could see a massive squeeze early in SanDisk that could push this stock back up over 950. For Micron, it's clear. It's 450 is the support. Are we going to see a tug of war battle again around 450? Micron is a coiled spring right now. If we can hold 450 and move up and clear 470, I think the tug of war is over. The bears will have to cover their positions, and we could be fueling towards that 500 level for Micron. And then the last piece is the storage twins, Western and Seagate. If Western clears 375 and if Seagate clears 550 at the opening, the next leg of the breakout has begun for those guys. They're going to continue to move forward into the blue sky territory that we've talked about. The bears tried to push the rope today. They tried to push the stock down, particularly with Micron overall, but the whales, the support level stepped in. It is there. It is real. The storage kings also are flying on a different level right now. They are reaching towards blue sky potential. Will they continue to fly high? They are the kings of the sector. They confirmed it again today overall. Guys, stay focused on the signalers. There's so many out there in the market right now. As I mentioned, I think the market is pricing the war out. We're going to see massive rotation back into capital. We're going to see strong growth with tech stocks overall. So ignore the noise the best you can. And I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one over the weekend. Have a great Friday night. Take care.